the total contract value that they wrote down on their tender summary page was $2.4 million.
Okay,
But when we started, so that's when we close the tenders, that's what we look at, right?
Right.
We look at $2.4 million. That's what we wrote down on the unofficial tender closing summary sheet. So then what we do is we check the actual math, right? So the mistake that they made was that they didn't. One of the schedules had a wrong subtotal, which if you were to add up all the schedules, that resulted in about $1 million mistake.
increase or decrease? Because, yeah,
But
I like their
the
decrease.
total tender project value that they submitted on their sheet was $2.4 million.
Okay, and we'd have to go on the tender amount, not their corrected math amount. Is that what you're saying?
What we have to do is look at what they've submitted and review it based on that. And they submitted a tender that we read was $2.4 million. When we started doing the math, we found a $1 million error. So it was quite obvious that there was an error made on their part. And according to the tender law, we just couldn't accept that bid.
So
And I don't think you would actually win it in court.
you're saying that they could have done it for
No,
1 million less?
No, because that's the one thing that I did. I phoned them right away, and then I asked them what exactly.
Is there?
I asked them to review their tender package again. So
Right.
they went through it, and they said, "Oh, wait a sec. We made a mistake on one of the subtotals, but the total that we submitted is the number that we
Oh, okay.
that we want.
The total was the correct amount.
The total was the correct amount. Yes,
Yeah.
I like that number too, but
Yeah.
Yeah. And here's one of the comments you said was standards 60 years ago were different on the one we've built, right? And I'm thinking I actually like their standards because it went 60 years versus the 40 to 50 I'm going to get out of the new one.
I don't think so.
I know, it was tongue in cheek, that's all, it's tongue in cheek. Yeah, I'm done.
Councillor Carrier.
A lot of my questions have been answered. So I only got a couple. For engineering, does all this go towards DCL's units in the breakdown of the cost information? That's all engineering for DCL?
the $184,000 that you're referring to. No, we do have actually, essentially yes, but we do work with some consultants for our electrical design and some of our structural design. So we pay our sub-consultants from that amount. But that is the total engineering for the project.
Okay, thank you. And then the last one is just forgive my ignorance on all this. The tender amount includes a $100,000 construction contingency allowance. What is that?
Unforeseen. You're working with an existing facilities. There's pipelines running left and right. You just don't know what you're gonna run into once you start.
The contingency typically is put into the contract to cover any unforeseen. It's not intended to be used, it's not intended for the contractor to look at it as slush fund. We guard it pretty closely so that it's not used. But if there's something comes up, or they're digging a hole and all of a sudden there's something there, a big rock or something that they gotta try to get out, and there's some extra charges. That's money's in there too. So we put a contingency amount in each project budget. So when you approve the project budget, that's the total amount we expect to use on the website. We try to stay efficient, as confines for contract and not use the contingency.
That's what I thought, but I just wanted to confirm that.
Any unforeseen items are usually dealt through project change orders, which would be signed by the town as well, approved and then signed before before the contractor will be allowed to use a portion of it.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have anything to add, Mr. Walker?
No, I was just gonna say that it has to be approved by the
Yes.
town before that contingency.
Any other questions? I have a question regarding the Building Canada Fund. If the Building Canada Fund kicks in, would this qualify, even though we would have started construction?
I don't know. We haven't seen the rules that they're gonna come out with yet. We've tried to get onto their websites, but they're not giving divulging anything. The word I heard was the feds kind of spoke a little too early, because not all provinces are on board with it. So hopefully it comes out in fall, but I don't know if they say shovel ready, so once you start to put your money into it, I'm not sure how they're gonna do it.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? Councillor Danaka?
I just have one. Once this is, I guess my question is, how are the rest of our lift stations, like, are we gonna get another 30 years out of them, or are we gonna be starting to look at doing repairs in the next few years on some of the other
We're gonna
ones?
start looking at repairs on the other ones. It's in the 10-year capital plan where we're to be this year having a look at the one on the highway, which is right where the walking bridge goes across. That one was constructed in the early 70s as well, and that is metal. But that lift station is not the size of this one. Not saying that the contractors would view that any differently, but it doesn't handle the flows that this one does. The other one that is built similar to this is number 3. It's over by the Alberta Housing Subdivision Trader Court, and it was built in 1978. It has a complete wet well that was built in 78 and is in a lot better shape. So as we review these, they're going to be reviewed through the 10-year capital plan, and then we will come up with a plan of, yes, this one needs to be looked at now, as opposed to maybe getting another 10, 15 years on it. The one in the Shibuya subdivision was built in 1986. It is not even near its life expectancy. It's hardly being used due to the fact that the development is very slow.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Amter?
I just have one comment. As sad as it is, and I don't like spending money, I like the idea of the restructuring so that we qualify for government grants now and in the future. Let's say 40 years from now we go to replace it again. If the same rules are in place, we get no funding again.
Yes, Mr.
I
Walker?
think the way things are headed in the future, I think we'll be looking at a treatment facility quicker than we think for our sewage. They're trying to get away from the lagoons systems, and that way these lift stations would be pumping directly to something that is probably just across the river. But I know what you're saying with the restructuring, to have one final lift station.
Yeah, I'd rather
But
qualify.
after this one is updated, like 50 years down the road, we don't know where we're going to be 50 years down the road. So if we were to spend that big dollar figure now on putting another lift station where all these pump into, is that going to be money well spent? There might be new technology in the next 20 years that evaporates it. Who knows?
You're rolling the dice either
Yeah,
way,
Either way.
right? If it qualifies, you save money. If you got something new,
Yeah.
you waste it.
Yeah.
So,
I think if there was money available, I mean, this one is kind of on the fence, but I believe there should have been funding for it. So I would encourage all of you, whenever you're talking to your MLAs, just to keep bringing it up and, kind of look there. And I think there should have been some money. Had there been money there, I think we probably would have done some. That's just my feeling.
Councillor Amter?
did we do a grant application and it was turned down? Because I know we talked about it and it just said it didn't qualify, but if we did do a grant application, then we could approach Pearl Calhazen and say, look,
I don't.
there should be an understanding.
There was one done for this particular project after we discussed it with the AT.
I think it's worth a discussion at least. Michael has a good relationship with Pearl.
Can we do a grant application now?
We can look at it and see what can be done. I don't think, it's similar to the grant application we put forward for the resource road funding. Once they tell you no at that level, we'll have to look into it. I can't say for sure.
I think a better option would be just to talk with the Alberta Transportation, and because right now, if you submit the application for funding, according to the rules, that project is not eligible for funding because the way the rules are written. But I think putting some political pressure on Alberta Transportation, and hopefully we'll see some more funding coming in this year and hopefully next year as well. When they have more money, they're a little bit more open to discussions, and I think this is a perfect project to be discussed, because that lift station is a major lift station in town. It pumps directly into the sewage lagoon, but the way the town is situated and the way it's laid out, there's two other lift stations that pump into the same force main, and that's what disqualifies it from.
And I would be, I really would like to apply under the Building Canada Fund. So if we try somewhere else and we get refused, would that impact a Building Canada Fund application?
No, I don't think so.
Okay.
It might if
The way the Building
the
Canada Fund
construction
worked
starts.
last time, is that if you had funding from another source, it just pools all together.
Oh, okay.
And if you're going to talk to Alberta Transportation, I would talk to the local Danny here, I go right to Alberta, or Dave McIntyre.
Dave McIntyre.
Talk to the boss.
Yes, because we've gone through Danny and he's basically said, no, it's not an end
Yeah,
lift station. McIntyre?
McIntyre.
McIntyre. Okay, any other questions? So the recommended action is that we are awarding the tender tonight. Would anybody like to make that motion? Councillor Panasic has made the motion. Do you want to read it out?
Oh, you got it highlighted, thank you. That council award the lift station tender to West Pro Infrastructure for the amount of $2.161312 to be taken from the 2014 capital budget, and the capital increase, and council increased the capital budget to a total of $2.2 million for the lift station project, funded all by capital grants.
Any questions on that motion? All in favor? Motion is carried. Thank you for giving us all the information on the lift station.
Thank you.
Before you go, Mr. Walker, I did have one question regarding the Public Works. Joe Olansky, a resident of town, had complained about water pooling by that lift station on the highway.
It's further down from that area. It does pool there. I think Mr. Martinson, did you have a chance to go talk to him?
I haven't talked to him yet.
Okay.
But we are aware, and it is pooling there. It's been an issue for several years after the original overlay of the highway back in the mid-90s. We've tried to address it by draining it to the east. It works for a while until the grass and salt and sand is back into the little tiny ditch there. So we're going to look at a more permanent solution there.
Okay. And you will talk to him before you do any
Oh, yes.
construction?
Yeah.
He was quite concerned and adamant. Well, I want to talk to them first. Okay. Now, I think, Mr. Duffy, you were here about a road also, weren't you? No?
Oh, we had our pre-construction meeting for the 2013 street, where it's 49th Street. from 50th to 52nd. So the meeting went well. We had the local business people attend as well. They had quite a few questions. We answered them all. I believe there'll be an active interaction with the contractor and our field personnel and the businesses to keep them posted at all times what's going on. Everybody seemed to be happy the way it's going to go ahead. No real issues. We want to make sure that they have pedestrian access to all their businesses. Contractor's ready to start July 7th. The way the contract will work is we'll be doing the underground water mains first, which is a pipe bursting operation that we're going to be using. So basically, the existing pipe stays there, and they pull a cutter through it, and in behind pull a new pipe. With that, we'll be hooking up to the existing water lines when they have the new one in there, and then we'll be cutting in new services for each business, and putting in some new valves, one more new hydrant. After all that is done, they got the holes all filled in, and hopefully before the rodeo, so we don't lose anybody. Then they'll come and they'll take out the concrete sections and prep that. Come in and pour all the concrete, put new concrete, and about a week or so later, they'll milling crews will come in and mill up the asphalt, and then put a new overlay surface on it. And then there'll just be some cleanup to be done, and we'll have a new roof. Looking good.
Yes, Mr. Walker.
We had about 5 businesses that were here. We did hand deliver notices to each business to attend the meeting. We've also notified the Elks of a change in the parade route, whereas now they will come to Smitty's and then go directly down the highway because they won't be able to access that section of 49th Street to come back to the highway. So that's been taken care of as well.
Okay. So the paving, does it go across the intersection to the TD Bank? Does it go?
No, it doesn't. There's a little bit part of that intersection, but it doesn't go.
It doesn't go
across.
across. Okay, so it only goes a little bit, and then it goes all the way to the north to
the-
Highway 2, and it
Yeah.
stops there. And the sidewalks and the curbs, are they being replaced, or?
Only certain sections.
Only
Some
certain
of the sections were done in the late 90s
Mhm.
and are in pretty good shape yet. So they've been, there's been places where identified the brick by the Royal Bank as being taken out. And anywhere that we looked at that it looked like it should be replaced is being replaced.
Okay. Any other questions on that paving job? No? And when did they start?
July 7th, and by about the 3rd week of August, weather permitting, they should be all complete.
Yes, Mr. Walker?
I have also taken their timeline and given it to Crystal to put on our website, where they say construction starts at this point. And it's a preliminary timeline, weather dependent, but these citizens can go on there and see the approximate phase of where they're at. And also there's going to be a link to the Canelson Main Company website, so that if people are interested in who's actually doing the job, they can go onto take that link and go to Canelson website.
So there'll be no traffic, obviously, on the road, but there will be pedestrian traffic
Yes.
on the sidewalks that are, if it's,
Yep.
okay. Any other questions? All right, then. Now you can, thank you very much. Appreciate you coming.
No problem. Yep. And if you have any, if you do get a meeting with Mr. McIntyre and you'd like us present, we'll...
Certainly. We wouldn't, if we get a meeting, we could get some technical.
Thank you for the offer.
All right, now, does anybody want to take a break before we start finance?
Sure.
All right, then we'll take a 10-minute break.